Good morning, students. This video is for my student Emerson and also for any student who is interested in it. We're going to look at that great guitar solo from Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll. Should go something like this. Pretty cool solo, and it's not too awfully complicated. We're going to break it down into 4 little parts in order to make it a little bit easier to digest. So let's look at the first part. And that is going to be the very beginning of the solo, which goes something like this. And you notice that I use a whammy bar to get that little sway in there, but another way we can get that is by bending the neck. It's a little more subtle, but we're going to look at that here in a moment. So let's break this down from the very beginning. So the first little piece is all played on the top string, our favorite string, the low E. And it goes something like this. I hit that low E string, and I hit it again briefly right before I grab the 2nd fret and give that string just a slight little bend, just enough to give that note a little attitude. You can see I'm not going crazy with it, just a little bit of a bend. As soon as I give that note that little bend, I stop that string from ringing. Notice I pick it, I bend, and then I lay my hand kind of right on the strings and stop it from ringing. Now, while that note is still bent, notice it's still bent here, I'm going to pick it again and release that bend. And I top it all off with one more strike of the E string. So to put all that together, top string, one more time. It's all played on the top string, the open string and the 2nd fret. Now, the next thing we do is we're going to play this chord. Now, it looks like a pretty complex chord, but let's talk about it for a minute. That chord is called an E7. Let's forget about that 7 for a second. Do you remember your E chord? Plain old E. Regular old E chord, just like we've learned right there in the beginning. We're going to take that E chord and lift up our ring finger. Now we've only got 2 fingers holding the chord. E chord, lift up the 3rd finger. Now that alone gives us the chord that's called an E7, but we want to add our pinky in here. And my pinky, I don't know if you can see it or not, is going right there on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Let me get the rest of my hand out of the way. 3rd fret, 2nd string. So I've got an E chord, lift up my 3rd finger, get it out of the way, and put the pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So I'm holding 3rd fret of the 2nd string. My 1st finger is on the 1st fret of the 3rd string, and my 2nd finger is on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Now, when I'm holding those notes, I can strum all 6 strings and I get that chord that we call an E7. An E chord is vanilla ice cream. An E7 chord is vanilla ice cream with sprinkles on top. It's a very similar chord, it just has a little extra flavor to it. So that's the chord that I'm grabbing after my first lick. So I'm going to go back, turn my guitar up. The first lick we did. And then the E7 chord. And while it's still ringing, I'm grabbing my whammy bar and just slightly pushing down. We can hear the sound of that chord kind of dip. Or, if you don't have one of these whammy bars, which Emerson, I don't think you do on your guitar. Your guitar does not have a whammy bar. A good way to kind of fake that is to play the chord, and immediately after you play the chord, you push forward with your hand that's holding the neck. We're pushing the neck forward. And with my other hand, I put it on the top part of the guitar and I'm pushing back. It's like I'm trying to bend the neck. This hand's pushing towards me. This hand is pushing away. You can hear that little subtle bend. Someone's going to tell you, don't do that. You're going to break the neck off your guitar. I've heard that my whole life, and I've never seen it happen. Now, there's a first time for everything, so be very careful. Don't push too hard, just enough to get that little bit of sway in there. So let's put together everything we just did. And I'm going to use that bending of the neck this time. So here's our first part. That's it, slowly. That is part one of the guitar solo for I Love Rock and Roll. We've got 3 more parts we're going to look at in other videos. So let's start with this one. Let me know if you've got any questions, and look for the next part coming up really soon. See you later.